Peeking angles is something that all of you are going to need to learn to do at some point. And no, this isn't like when you spend all of your allowance on Valorant skins and your parents are like, eventually you're going to have to learn to save money. Because trust me, that's not true. I'm 23 and I still spend all of my money on Valorant skins. But I'm telling you, if you want to make spending money on Valorant skins worth it, you gotta learn how to peek angles properly. Otherwise, you're just going to die and not really get to use them. Now, we've done a lot of VOD reviews on the channel. Some of them go over strictly aiming habits, some of them go over strictly utility usage. Today, what I want to talk about is strictly peeking and clearing angles, because there is actually a lot of nuance to peeking angles, and how you're peeking them right now in Valorant might actually be getting you killed. But some of the things people tell you might sound like they're not that big of a deal. So even when you hear these things, you still ignore them and keep doing the same stuff. That's why we're going over it today though, so we can show you exactly what you're doing wrong and exactly how to fix it. So you're playing on Ascent and you're playing as Reyna. All agents it's important to have good mechanics for, but duelists are definitely up there as some of the most important. Because if you don't know how to peek angles properly, it's not like you have a drone to bail you out and clear those angles for you. Specifically, what I want to showcase in this first round is our hero's issue with peeking angles really close to the corner. Now, the primary reason that this is bad, obviously, is because of angle advantage. If you're peeking close to the angle, then the enemy is going to generally see you before you see them. Obviously, we want this to be the opposite. You want to see them before they see you. But the most frustrating thing in this situation is that because he's close peeking after using his blind, the Jett actually has a shorty and is in the perfect position to just one-shot him. He's got to clear his close angle because they are on an eco, obviously. Died to a shorty right here. So maybe this is something that's hard for a gold player to see. The gold 3 is like, okay, well, am I just supposed to expect a shorty here? Well, in a sense, yes. If they're on eco, this is something that they easily could do. But the takeaway from this isn't, oh man, he threw this round, he died to Jett. It's, okay, well, next time let's try to play this a little bit more safely. Let's try to clear this angle next time. Make sure that we're a little bit further away so we don't die to this Jett, and then we can come out of it alive, hopefully. I'm assuming she gets traded right here, so that's 1-for-1. Probably favors the Jett in this situation just because she is on eco, but for the most part, it's not terrible. Now, this is obviously a rough situation because the Reyna was running up to flash onto site, but a lot of the times, this is why you'll actually want to use your flash for your teammates as Reyna because it does put you in an awkward position to peek out with it. Something to keep in mind too is that you'll always find excuses for why things happen in the game, but making excuses doesn't really help us get any better. So the important thing to recognize here is that there is a problem, and the problem is that this player frequently peeks close to the walls because he's running up to blind. And in this situation, because he was peeking close to the wall to use his blind, he ended up getting shortied when the enemy team was on an eco round. So maybe, like I suggested, the solution is to blind for a teammate next time. Or maybe the solution is that on eco rounds, he doesn't choose to blind at all because they have gun advantage anyway. So if they're dueling heaven, he should be able to win that gunfight. Now, I'd still say that blinding out is a good idea, and you'll notice how, and I've mentioned this in other videos, we're noticing an issue within the round, and we're thinking of ways that we can fix it. This is all part of the thought process that we go over how to perfect on skillcap.com. Basically, this is how you solve really any issue, and how a lot of larger business-minded people think. Lots of improving at things and growth is about being able to identify things that are issues for yourself and being able to come up with solutions for your problems. A really cool question I've heard posed before from a more business related channel was, what are 20% of activities causing 80% of your problems? Now, relating this to Valorant, 80% might be a big number for this player that we're looking at today, but I would go as far to say that this bad peeking habit probably gets him killed 4 to 5 times within a game. And that's potentially 4 to 5 rounds that could have ended very differently. Now, our job at SkillCapped isn't necessarily to fix those issues for you because we can't magically snap our feet here. You want to be doing this constantly. You want to practice it on all corners. And in this situation, he's holding W around this corner. And that's why you can tell because it gives him this sort of round motion. And that's not what you want. You want it to be fast. You want to be peeking as fast as possible. And the reason that this is faster is because you're covering, you're going, so like you had to get from point A to point B, right? You wouldn't want to travel from point A to point B by doing like this, right? Or even by doing like this. You want to travel from point A to point B by doing this, right? That's going to be the fastest way for you to do it. So to give you an idea of why it's bad to hold W when you peek angles, this is why. It's because it gives you this curved motion, which makes you a little bit easier for the enemies to hit. Not only that, but a lot of times people do this curved motion when they're close to the corner, as he is right now. And it's going to make it so you just have to deal with more angle advantage. They're going to see you a lot earlier, and it's not optimal, right? Now, obviously, it's not likely that he's going to encounter an enemy at spawn, but he's got to be careful for this at all times. Now, we're actually going to go back and connect this to a round where this sort of movement does actually end up hurting him quite a bit. Now in this round, he's not going to be peeking spawn, it's actually rather a hectic round, but you'll notice that he has a sheriff and his movement is a little bit questionable. Basically, he just full sprints at this player on generator, which not only makes his peaks slower, but it makes it incredibly easy for this Raze to hit him. Even when run and gunning, the Raze is still able to pick up a kill onto him so awkwardly, and I can promise you this sort of thing doesn't happen if he's able to take a different angle for this duel. Now, because there's a lot going on in this round, I actually want to remove us from this situation. So if the editors can help me out with this one. I want to remove all other stimulus from this example and just think about where the Raze is positioned and where this Reyna is positioned. If this were a 2v1 and you had a teammate in A main, what would be the best way to approach this engagement? Would it be the way that this Reyna approached this? I'm going to assume most of you would say probably not, because if you're just running directly at the Raze, you're going to be really easy to hit because you're running in a straight line. No, the best way to take this engagement would likely be to loop around the right side and try to get a better angle on this Raze. Because if you run directly at her from B main, not only are you an easier target to hit, but you're giving her a lot more space to work with than you need to. Because if you go wide, suddenly you start to lose space that she is out of your line of sight, and this is just because of how angles work, and suddenly now you're in a better position. There's one more thing specifically that I want to talk about with this player though, and that has to deal with how players have a bad habit of clearing angles poorly. I imagine a lot of duelists have this problem of feeling like they need to clear every single angle themselves, so to solve this problem they sort of flail their mouse around when entering, and it's just not efficient. Now, clearing angles fast definitely is something that is good to be able to do as a duelist, but if you're half clearing angles, you're likely just going to get yourself killed or waste your time. I've heard Tens talk about this once on stream, and here's what he had to say.
Also, I noticed, I see this so much, but people always, they half clear something. And I feel like if you're half clearing something, you might as well not even clear it at all, because you're just taking, you see, he took the effort there to clear it, but he didn't really clear it. He mindlessly did the movement rather than making sure his brain. A way to stop this is always thinking someone's in a corner. So when he was clearing this, instead of being like, oh, someone could be here, and going, oh, you could literally just be like, someone's right here. No, he isn't. And then that's like gonna ensure you that you don't, what's it called, die like that way.
Sometimes it actually kind of sucks when players in these VOD reviews have these issues because sometimes they don't get punished for it. But in this example, you'll notice he actually does get punished for it, so you can see what I actually mean. Can I just say, by the way, there's nothing that makes me happier than when you guys actually get punished for your mistakes. And I know that sounds really quirky, but it makes these videos so much better when you guys do things wrong and actually lose rounds because of them. Because I can say these things are important and then you just constantly don't clear your corners all game and get away with it. Is it really that important? The answer is yes. If you're going to clear a corner, it's important to full clear it.